Samasanga vivarjitaha.
शीतोष्ण समदुःखेषु
शीतोष्णसुखदुःखेषु
समः सङ्गविवर्जितः
Tulya nindastutirmauni santushto yena kenachit.
तुल्यनिन्दास्तुतिर्मौनी सन्तुष्टो येन केनचित्
Aniketastiramatihi bhaktiman me priyo naraha.
अनिकेतः स्थिरमतिर्भक्तिमान् मे प्रियो नरः
एतु धर्म्यामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते.
ये तु धर्म्यामृतमिदं यथोक्तं पर्युपासते
श्रद्धानामत्परमा भक्तास्ते तीव मे प्रियाः.
श्रद्दधानामत्परमा भक्तास्तेतीव मे प्रियाः.
So this chapter, while there was a lot of talk about the devotion and multiple aspects earlier, and the path in different stages that it takes to reach him, then Krishna talks about to live a high quality life. What should the bhakta have? What attributes, what qualities should a bhakta have? And the way Vyasaji puts this across is say a sage or a yogi has these qualities. That's the way he puts it. So what it means for us is that as a devotee or as a bhakta, we need to also inculcate these qualities, if not today, over a period of time, to to reach him. Now, those qualities are enumerated over several verses. So this first one, we'll just recap some of the ones that we covered in the last session. He starts in the 13th stanza, right? That's where we started chanting today. He says, Anipeksha stiramat shuchir daksha shuchi daksha udhasino gatavyataha. The first one, what is it? Anapeksha, free from dependence. So, what do you mean by dependence? Whatever wants, right? We can look at dependence as wants, without which I cannot be comfortable, whatever it may be. It is just saying that I'm comfortable wherever I am. That makes sense. Second thing, he said is no shuchihi daksha udasino gatavyataha. Not being shuchihi daksha. That means what? So being in what do you call free from independence, and then being pure and also be an expert, right? So and then he goes on to say udasina gatavyataha. So if you see some of these verses, some of these qualities, you'll see that they have similar meaning, but it's said in different ways, so that sometimes if it is said in a particular way, it hits us a bit more than others. Udasina, that means what? I don't become concerned, unconcerned, gatavyata, or untroubled by what? Dire situations. And then sarvaramba parit. Sorry, I'm in a different stanza here. Let me. Sorry. Yeah. Adveshta sarvabhuta maitra karunaiva cha. Husband. Yeah. Sarvabhutanam, amongst all the creatures, not hating anybody was the first one that we learned. I went to the 16th one because that's where we're going to start from today. Yeah, sorry, go back to 13. Adveshta. Adveshta means what? Not hating anybody. Of what? Anybody that is in this creature made up of 5 elements. That means living beings, anything that we see, that we interact with on a daily basis. Maitraha, Karunaha, friends, and even not so friends, being compassionate with them. So friends are always, what you call, we like them, but there are sometimes what happens, sometimes friends, it also some jealousy factor comes in, envy factor comes in, So be watchful when that happens. And then compassion towards those whom we may not like. That is something we talked about. Then nirmamaha nirahankaraha. Nirmamaha ahankara means what? Where the ego doesn't come into the equation. So somewhere, not having this mindset, I possess this, I possess that, be it an object, be it a family, be it a job, whatever it might be, right? Everything is temporary. That mindset, right? And even whatever I possess is being given to me. It's not something that I'm going to hold on to, right? The meditation that we went through, what will Guruji say, maybe even forget even 100 years, even 20 years from now, nothing. See, today when you look at our own ancestors' tree, right? How many ancestors do you go back and look at? Maybe one, maybe two. Great grandfather. Some of us who do tarpanam, etc. You go to above that, some three, four, five, etc. It's forgotten, isn't it? So when you look 100 years from now, three families would have come into picture. So whatever we think I possess today, or I'm great today, or I have this, or I have that, etc., is remembered by the next family for some time. They also leave. Next, their children come. You'll be remembered for some time. After that, probably even the photo is not even known. Maybe nobody knows. Right. In today's generation, people don't even know who their tata is, who their grandfather is, who their cousins are. Right. So the thing is that everything is so short lived. What we think, I have this, I have that, etc. Yes, there is sometimes you say this is my ancestral home, it's been there for 100 years. Yeah, that's it. But who is it that did it? May not remember. Somebody will say a name, but it doesn't ring a bell to you. So you just move forward. So, and then sama dukkha sukha kshami. That means what? Balanced mindset, be it sukha or dukkha. Very simple, right? And because they come together. There's nothing like, one can always be happy or one can always be sad. Then santushta satatam yogi. Santushtaha. We all know what santushta means, right? So this contented is one way to look at it. Satatam, always. Why? Because this person is contented in a higher realm. So what we may think of as requirement of being content is slightly different than because this person is seen a higher level of happiness, a saint or a yogi or a strong devotee. That for me, I don't really need this to be content. That is the mindset. And that happens over time, right? I mean, even if you look at it today, whatever we thought we would need, when you're a teenager or 30 years old, we have come out of it, right? We have a larger, somewhere that contentment quotient has increased, developed over a period of time. And that's only going to happen. That is the way, Ishvara has made us all. There's no way we can do it. And the whole intent is that so that at some point in the life we tend to realize that there is a bigger purpose for all of this. Yeah, one word I missed in the kshami that was there, which is kshamaha, is what was forgiving mindset. Very, very important, right? All of us have it to some degree, but we have to ask who do we forgive? Do we forgive even the harshest of people for a mistake that they would have done? So having that kshami is like the way that happens is when you're human, you have a groundedness feeling, you're humble, humility. Humility automatically brings in all of these. And humility is a shock absorber. It takes care of all dire situations that come. And then Santush Satam Yogi, Yatatma Drida Nishchayaha. Yogi Yatatma. That means what? He is always putting himself in Atma, my upliftment. That means what? Meditation regularly, has got some level of what do you call restraint and actions that should not be there. Regulator, has got regulations on things that, what he should eat, what he should sleep, etc., etc., and spends a lot of time on dhyana. Yatatma Drida Nischaya is made it a firm, practice, right? That abhyasa part that we talked about earlier. Mayyar Pita Manoho Buddhihi. Mayyar Pita. Mayyar Pita is what? Mayyar Pita upper, it is basically, that if you see this one with the previous one, how can I put myself in meditation and all these other practices when there is a intellectually, mindfully, I'm conscious of the fact that that's where my journey is heading from this time onwards. So I have to put this as one of my higher priorities. When that happens, automatically the rest of the things happen. So in all these verses, he'll say towards the end, Mad Bhakta Same Priyaha. These couplet of these verses, right? These two verses together, if these people who have these qualities in these two verses, they are very dear to me. And you'll see this Mad Bhakta part of it getting repeated multiple times. Then we go to the Yasmano Dvijate, 15th verse, Yasmano Dvijate Lokaha, Lokano Dvijate Chayaha. Somebody who doesn't agitate somebody or get agitated by somebody else, right? Both ways. We talked about this. So, how can agitation happen? When you're agitated, you automatically do it to the others. But what is it that you can shield yourself from? Only these practices. There's no other choice. You can't say, I'm going to shut my mouth here, because even if you shut your mouth, inside you're boiling. So both physically and mentally in your heart, you're not agitated. That's the key thing. It is not agitated means not saying something. Now, when you're agitated, when I say agitated, when you're perturbed by somebody saying something and you believe that it is contrary to what your belief system is, or you don't agree with it, there's in all of this, whatever response has to be given has to be given. We are not talking that I shut myself completely, but it's a question of what mindset do I use in this. Okay. Ismano jute loka, lokano vyadite jayaha, harsha marsha bhavot vegaihi. We talked about this, right? The triplet. Joy, fear, and envy, they all go together. And the question is always, the joy is the one. The joy element means what? Pleasure triggers everything else. If I don't get that, what does it lead to? It leads to envy. And if that envy is also fulfilled, then what does it lead to? Fear of keeping it, fear of sustaining it over a period of time. So this is where we were talking till last class. 16 stands onwards. We can go into that. Anapekshaha Shuchit Daksha. Peksha. What is the word? Peksha means dependence, depending upon somebody. What is anapeksha? Therefore, not depending on somebody. So, not depending on nothing, you can say, or not depending on anything, whatever it is, right? And what do we typically, when I say I depend on something, that means what? The desire is to, whenever I have a desire, that means I depend on that for my happiness. I depend on that for my contentment. So only way this thing can happen where I don't depend on anything is where I am devoid, or I've reduced my wants and desires to a large extent. Right. And I have the confidence that whatever I need, that confidence word is a very strong one, or we can say shraddha or faith, that whatever I need in my life is being taken care of by none other than the divine, and will continue to happen. See, we think that, I did this and I got this, and etc., or only if I have a desire, it'll come. The divine knows much more than you and I about what we need. Right? Whenever is the right time. That's the key thing. It's not when I need it tomorrow means it has to happen. Because whatever is appropriate for a devotee, whatever is appropriate for a person, it is getting done, taken care of. So this is, but for this to happen, it's not that we sit idle. We do whatever is required, right? So it's not to say that as a you would, I sit idle in the corner, it'll happen. So show my action, show my seva spirit, show my devotion, whatever else I have to do all those upasana practices, everything that have been prescribed, and then it happens. The grace through blessings, it happens. So, so therefore, one has to understand that this not doesn't mean to say I do nothing and God will take care of me. I need to do this. At the same time, I don't crave for the fact that it happens. It will be given, and we see it constantly. We just have to realize how many times He has given without even being asked. Before even the desire comes in, I need these things are being done. I think when that happens, we realize that there is a larger force that's taking care of things. Even before I want something, it is being given. Shuchihi Daksha. Shuchihi. What is Shuchihi? Shuchihi means simply cleanliness, purity. Now you see the word cleanliness has got different meanings depending on how you look at. Body cleanliness is of course a very obvious one. But here we are talking about mental cleanliness, garbage in the mind. What the garbage in the mind would be some quality that you don't want to have, some bad behavior, or maybe jealousy, envy, or some relationship issues, some with somebody. So for all of this, we need that purity. So basically, how one gets rid of these things, it is having awareness that I have this first. That prayer that I want to get rid of this. That's the first thing. Once we have that thing, then automatically the steps will come in our life that, there'll be guidance to how to take care of it. And of course, the only way to take care of these things is through those practices, whatever we learned in Ashtanga Yoga and whatever we are learning also in these chapters. So, it's like this, right? In our body also we have multiple, as they call it, muddy pockets. What is it called? There is a word for it. So basically, once I remember it, but I'll tell you. Uh, so those those get removed. So it's like every part of our body. There is like a like we have a garbage bin in the kitchen. Huh?
Toxins, sir.
No,
Toxin.
no, not toxins. No, it's not toxins. It's not. I'll get to that. So in order to remove it, the only way to remove it, it doesn't come automatically. Is you have to do some physical exercise or yoga practices. What happens is that from there it comes through the outlet of our body. It gets removed. Okay. So like that, right? Body has that cleansing thing, but for that we have to do that action. If I sit idle, it will remain where it is and it will collect more and more dust. And then it leads to diseases, it leads to uh, aches and pains, etc., etc. Lymphatic system. That's what I was saying. If you look at the lymphatic system is such that it's there in multiple parts of the body. So there is something called lymphatic drainage. So when you look at lymphatic drainage, can happen only through physical activity. It just does not happen otherwise. Right. So you have to put effort for that. So here also, once you realize it, become aware, then I put some effort towards getting rid of it, right? Either through awareness or, using your discriminative power or following the practices, whatever, one can do. Okay. Shuchit Daksha. Daksha simply means, vibrant, alert, um, having that mindset of, wanting to get things done. So when you have an alertness, etc., what you're able to focus, and that is needed, right? If I'm going to give, it's like giving my 100% towards something. I'm not going to do these things half-heartedly. So all the things that we're talking about is, whenever time comes, I'll try to do this. I'm not there fully. 50% there, here, 70% there, here. That's not what is prescribed here. You give your full thing with a enthusiasm, with a prayer to get rid of things. Okay. Udasina gatavyataha. Udasina, indifference or unconcerned. See, what is so maybe one way to understand this, right? Things happen in our life, right? Not happen, everything happens hunky dory. And even in this world, today, right now, if one were to look at the entire world, there's everywhere there is some tragedy happening. Unwanted things are happening, and you feel uncomfortable with it. What is it that you and I can do? Can you go to Iran and fight for their side, or the US side, or Israeli side, or go to Ukraine, or whatever else it's happening, right? What is it that you can do? Somewhere, if we get caught up on it, it's happening, and I'm in trouble, I've lost my sleep because of this, doing nothing wrong. So somewhere we have to say what effort that I can do. What is the best thing I can do? What's the best thing? And sometimes the only best thing that I can do is pray. I can hope for the best and I pray. I meditate for their peace. I bless people if I can, right? That let them not go through any turmoil. But the important thing is not to get too perturbed by these things. It does trouble, but not so perturbed that I lose my mental sanctity. Same thing, right? I can get perturbed, forget the world. In my world of work, in my world of family, in my world of relationships, in-laws, my boss, I might get perturbed by whatever is happening, layoff somewhere, or somebody told me something. Could be. In all of this, we have to see wherever we can respond or act, we should respond. If it is possible, based on your ability, based on the circumstances, etc. But if the circumstances are not congenial for one to respond, the only way that we can do is go to the higher cause and let the higher cause take care of things. I just simply pray for them. Isn't it? Okay. Gatav yataha. First line, last stanza, last word, right? Gatav yataha means what? Mental agitations have ended or come. That means connected to the previous one, untroubled. This can also happen, one by the situation, or I want to get something done in my life, right? Some unfulfilled desires are there, etc. And it's not getting fulfilled no matter how much I try. That also, can lead to feeling of agitation within yourself. In fact, that is even a bigger problem because most of the time, all our issues are more to do with ourselves. It may be for a good cause, but I'm not there yet. I need to be there, whether it be at work or whether it be it in terms of the spiritual path or maybe in terms of relationship or the job role or maybe the position that I'm there in the corporate world, whatever it might be, there is a desire, there is expectation of this, that, etc. It's not happening, basically. So in all of this, right, we have to ask ourselves, what if the worst case situation happens? I'm just giving a very, I used to think the same lines, when we used to have layoffs, etc., or this team getting trimmed, etc., etc. So what? So what if you were to put that question to ask yourself? So what if Iran goes down completely? So what if they take away your job? I'm just think. So what is the worst case scenarios in all of this? Ask yourself. You'll find that it does bother you. You get impacted definitely. But is it a permanent thing? No, right. So that's that sense of belief, sense of I have something in me with which I can go through these dire situations, come out of it successfully, even though it may take some time. If that belief is there and there is a divine power that is with me, then I think we can counter almost anything. That last part, we tend to forget it. It is, I have to do this, I have to do that, etc., etc. But there is somebody who's under whose shadow we are constantly breathing. Without the shadow being there, we will not be alive. That part we have to come to, strong realization. Okay. All right. Sarva Arambha Parityagi. Sarva Arambha Parityagi. That means what? You know, um, whatever the sense of doership sometimes we have. I started this particular project, or I started this particular institution, right? And hence, this whole thing is attributed to me, blah, 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 etc. That mindset that comes. I think we have to be very, very clear on this one. And Krishna is very clear. We're all simply a vehicle. Simply a vehicle to get things done. It is said in our Shastras, when Bhagavan wants something to be accomplished, right? He just sees how can I make it happen? Who is the best conduit through which this can happen? Based upon ability, based on the attribute of that person. If that person says, I can't do it, or shies away from it, another person is there, identified to get it done. That's the way it works, right? When you go to all these, muds, etc., when things happen, they just look for which sadhaka can make this project happen. Which of my devotees can make something happen. And so when I'm endowed with that responsibility, should be a sense of gratefulness that, it's not a simple thing that I got this ownership to do something. It is only the blessings of which I do it. And therefore, when I go through that mindset, that question of doership does not come. Yes, doership in the sense of accountability, doership in the context of making it happen, that part is there. But the sense of doership that hits our ego, that it is because of me that it happened, is what I think is alarming us. Is telling us to be watchful of. Sarvaramba Parityagi Yomad Bhakta Samit. Again, this Bhakta who has got these qualities is very dear to me. So all of these, if you see, are signs of, if you see, there's a devotion quotient part coming in all of these stanzas. See, only if there is a devotion part, can I say that, it is Krishna who took care of everything. If I have my Ishta Devata as Krishna, or Ishta Devata as Rama, he took care of everything. I simply was just a vehicle through which it got done. So, in all of this, and when we look at the corporate world, you're given a particular ownership. You have to take accountability for it. All of that still remains. We don't see accountability is Bhagavan, and hence I do whatever best I can. No, not right. When you're accountable, you're there. But in the background, see that even that accountability part is getting blessed by him. I still get to give my 100% in everything. It is that mindset. It's not about to say that I sit idle. I don't, understand it fully. I do everything skillfully with all the talent. If I didn't have the talent, it won't be given first place. Okay, go to the next one. Yona Hishyati Nadveshti. very na shochati na kankshati. Very, these are very interconnected things. Very first one is what? Neither rejoices nor hates. Sishyati na dveshti, nor hating. Na shochati na kankshati. Kankshati, shochati means somebody who grieves, or kankshati means rejoices, or very wants to be in the pleasure mood, kind of a thing. They're both, you know, they're all, you can call it as idioms, right? That and they are deliberately given as opposites. In So if you look at one thing here, right, how to relate all of these things, as a combined thing. You take any situation, or take observe, you possess any object. What happens? You look at any object. What is the first thing that happens? Either there is a sense of attraction towards it, or there is a repulsion to it because it's not your taste, you're not cup of tea, whatever it may be, or you're indifferent, right? If there is an attraction, what happens? You desire to possess it, or you crave for it. And if there is a repulsion, there is an aversion, clearly, right? But let's say that attraction, now, you possess it and you get it also. When you get it, you rejoice it, at least temporarily, because it rejoicing also doesn't last for a long time. Now you rejoice it somehow. It is a car, let's say, or a phone. It breaks down. It doesn't work, right? There is a big repair that comes up. Suddenly, that whole thing turns into grief. Shochati. When you are in over pleasure mode, it is kankshati. It is when you get into the opposite, where unwanted thing happen. That same thing that gave you the pleasure now becomes a source of grief. So, what is it that these two, this first line tells us, is that these situations are constantly going to come. Can I accept the sense where, I like something, I don't like something? Can I be a bit centered towards all of this? And first of all, right, let's ask ourselves, what is it that makes, in all of us, five of us that are here, six of us that are here, right? When I see something, do we look at it with the same lens? You know, is my sense of, how I judge, how I see a thing the same? Not, right? Each one of us has got what's called as a lens, or a or a prism through which we look at it. And what is that lens or prism? My impressions, my thought process of what is right, what is wrong. That influences how I see something. If I see something in sync with what I like, it in tune with my impressions, I love it. If not, then there is either a sense of indifference or repulsion. Doesn't that happen? So in all these interactions, even some of the previous qualities we see, it's all mirror, it's all influenced by my what's sitting in my conscious subconscious mind. Vasanas in very Purusha. My vasanas influence how I behave in this world, how I perceive things in this world. And I'm not saying we should not judge, etc. Don't look at it that way. But just be careful that it is all something in me that is making it. So that's the reason. Same situation will be seen differently by somebody else. The same war that we see here, right? One set of journalists will look at the situation that Iran is losing. Some other guy will say US is losing, isn't it? Now, how do you look at it? Maybe not both of them, or maybe somewhere in middle. So, you look at any worldly situations, you look at even things within the family, even at work, it's all this thing. So the question always asked is, do you see the situation as if? This is a very strong thing I'm saying. Do you see everything as if? The answer would be most of the time no. To see as is, right, you have to be cleansed. So that is where a yogi comes in. So a person, only a yogi, a person, or any of the masters that we see, any of the gurus that we see, they don't look at a hardcore criminal and a devotee any differently. They'll see something in even in that criminal that can with effort he can be pulled out of it, right? So therefore, seeing uh, so with what mindset we call that, right? What mindset are you seeing? With what attitude we are seeing? It's simply, if you boil it down to the inner core of it, it is my vasanas that influence what I see, what I perceive. That's something we have to be watchful of. And the more I cleanse these vasanas with effort, with time, with knowledge, the more and more I start seeing the way things as is. Okay. Samashatrau cha mitre cha. Next verse. Yeah. Very similar. Samashatrau cha mitre. Use very similar. Shatru means you know what. Mitre you mean you know what it is. Similar mindset, or some being alike to both a friend or a foe, as I mentioned earlier. Very, very obvious, right? So I'm comfortable. Let's put it this way. I'm not saying that I'm pally with the Shatru, I'm pally no, same way I'm pally with the Mitra. No, but you're comfortable. So can I be comfortable in an uncomfortable situation? Right? It could be a person, it could be a situation here. Mitra, Shatru is not only a person, right? It could be even a situation, or it can be a particular thing that has happened at work, whatever it might be. You can take multiple examples here. Mitrecha tata manapamanayoho. Mana, apamana. Very simple. You know this, right? Apmana, honor. Apamana, dishonor. So when does honor happen? Somebody praises you, you feel wow, grateful. Dishonor, somebody criticizes you. Are you willing to accept criticism? And this honor, dishonor is also a bit subjective, right? So, if you look back at the freedom time, um, what would have been a dishonor for some was honor for some. Many of our freedom fighters felt it as an honor to go to jail to fight for the country, right? We think going to jail is bad, but at that time it was an honor to do it. So therefore, this honor and dishonor is very, very subjective, right? For some, so, somebody might say it is an honor for me to clean the streets. Right now all this footpath drive is happening. So somebody might say I'm wearing a white cloth, etc. It's an honor for me to cleanse up this place. Somebody else might say, it's meant only for, the skilled laborers to do that kind of a thing. You understand, right? So here, who decides what that honor and dishonor is? One's intellect, one's knowledge. Shita Ushna Sukha Dukkeshu. Same verse, the 18th verse, second line. Shita Ushna, very simple. Balanced in cold and heat. Ushna, Sukhaha Dukkaha. Now here, all of this we have to understand this, right? Why the reason these examples are given, it looks very similar, but it addresses one thing. If you look at cold and heat, what level it is in our system, it is at body level. Sukha Dukkaha is what level? Emotional. Friend and foe that we talked about earlier, what level is it at? Emotional. Honor and dishonor, what level is it at? Intellectual level. My intellect just cannot, So if you see joy, sorrow, what level is it at that we talked about earlier? Emotional level. So these examples are really tapping, and what are we all made up of? body, mind, intellect, isn't it? So if you take the mind part, which is all the emotions, intellect part, which is where the knowledge is, where I have a certain belief system about this, that, etc., and my own body, which is got a certain adaptability or preferences in terms of where it should be. If you look at the same body thing, go to Chennai, go and ask somebody, they'll say, I love the heat. They will not want to come out of Chennai. Bangalore person may say differently. A Delhi person may say differently. Right. Again, these are very different, right? So it's not the one thing that, what somebody feels as heat, somebody feels as cold is the same for everybody. It again depends on your body, preferences. It is whatever, ultimately, if you see all of these things, it is whatever your body, mind, intellect is telling you. That's how you react to all of these things. And then all of this, if you see the bottom line, no, somewhere, the one part I mentioned is the vasana. Second is that attachment, I should be in this particular bed, or I need to be sitting in this particular climate, or, I should have a person who is, who is in the same wavelength as I am. All of these things makes us what comfortable or uncomfortable. Shitoshna Sukha Dukkeshu Samasanga Vivarjitaha. Free from attachment. Sangaha. Sometimes, good Sangha is always good for life. But sometimes you are put into uncomfortable places. Right. I met somebody recently who came from abroad. We were actually we were sent on a deputation to some place that stayed there a few years, but not in a friendly country. But, you're sent there, you've been given an assignment, you have to do it. While you go through it, yeah, initially there's probably complaining and mindset, but after that you start adapting and then, do the best you can, right? Okay, 19th stanza. Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni. Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni. Santishta Tulya Ninda Stutir Mauni. Santishto Ena Kena Chita. What is Tulya Ninda? Tulya Ninda means what? Tulya Ninda. Tulya means praise. Ninda means, insult. Very similar, references. You see, always he gives opposites. And therefore, you ask yourself, right? Any saint today that we have a lot of reverence for them. Every saint, every guru that we have, are they always being praised? Right. Sometimes they are insulted. Sometimes they are praised, depending on where you look at it. If they get swayed away by these things, right, this person insulted me, I should punish that particular person. Never. You see this happening all the time in politics these days. So these people are beyond all of that. Right. And ultimately, you have to come down to that I am, who are these people to give me the feedback, right? My feedback comes from the higher source. And if I have to be punished for whatever I'm doing, I will get punished. If I have to be praised and blessed, I will be praised. That devotee has got that fullness, has got that clear understanding. Take an ocean. An ocean, right, is full, isn't it? I'm talking about fullness here. Does it get affected by, whether there is a downpour of rain or there is no rain? No, right? So, as a devotee or as a bhakta, can I also inculcate this thing that with whatever I am content, I am full. Whatever I defer, I deserve as a sadhak, I will be given. Santishto ena kena chita. That's what I said, right? Fully content, not depending on a particular shelter, a particular place, etc., etc. So this can come only when there is somewhere there is a if you see all of this, right, is when you say that there is a happiness coming from a larger source, right? I have this joy that, when I chanted this, I felt so good. Or, I joy that when I go to a particular place or divine place, I felt so good. And so that contentment also, right, is there also when we are innocent. Example of innocence is what? A small child. You see a small child as they grow up, right? They will cry. And after that, they'll come out of it. You'll go ask them, do you want anything? No, I don't want anything. They'll say this, I don't want anything. What do they mean by saying, I am happy the way I am. I'm content. I don't need a chocolate now to make myself happy from, because I was crying earlier. They come out of it, you're out of it. Aniketas, um, Samadukkas, Manapamana, Shitoshna Sukadikeshu, sorry, 19th verse, I'll go to this one. Yeah. Aniketas Tiramatihi. Aniketa means what? Somebody who doesn't have a dwelling. So what is he meaning here, right? So somebody asks you the way to look at this, right? Where do you think your home is? What is a home for each and every one of us? Where we feel that there is a place, it's comfortable, a place where I'm taken care of, right? And I don't have to worry about things. So for a sage, that home is what? In the abode of the divine. Nothing, and again, the reason is he's not looking for a comfort level as in a bed or a room or this, that, etc. Right? It is slightly higher, dwelling. Niketaha, Niketaha, there is a word called, there is a place called Shanti Niketan in West Bengal. If you've been there, beautiful place. It's a town by itself now. That is where, the Rabindranath Tagore stayed. Um, it's considered the house of peace today. Aniket is also another thing, right? Where you feel comfortable when I have insurance. Today, if you ask anybody, when you get, when they go to a certain age and higher, you say, you have insurance, you have health insurance, you have life insurance. For a devotee, strictly speaking, I'm not saying you should not have insurance, but sometimes we think the insurance is, it is, without it, how can I live? I was just looking at it. When did insurance start in India? Did you know? Only in the 19th century. All the people who lived before that, how did they live? How were they taken care of? And even you look at your own ancestors, etc., who lived in villages, did they have an insurance? It is, for that particular time, the cost was still there. Today we see that everything has gone up. But at that time when, you are earning less, the cost of, medicine, cost of doctor, cost of hospital was also comparable. It's not, it's not grossly different. But somewhere there was a mental feeling that I am, this probably either I can't pay for it or I'm not too worried about it. So for a devotee, the insurance, ultimate insurance, for a sadhak or a sage, is what? Insurance is divine. He will take care. How I'm going to die? If I die, who will take care of my, samskaras after that? And the insurance that, tomorrow, if something were to happen, you take all our, itihasas, right? Rama, Lakshmana, they all went into the forest. Did they take any insurance? Something happens, they'll take care of it. Somewhere there was a force that's taking care of everything. That insurance, right? What we, say, talk about it today, right? Permanent insurance, blah, blah, blah. There's nothing like permanent, first of all, no matter what the insurance companies tell you. So therefore, the shelter that we refer to as shelter is not just the physical shelter that we're referring to. We're talking about the mental shelter. Somewhere I am comfortable. Stiramatihi. Stiramatihi means what? nothing can deter this person from the goal of spirituality. For this person, I have to be constantly in knowledge. I have to be, that's where I get my inner strength to live, and a clear understanding that knowledge is power. I need to be in this. And if therefore he or she is very clear about these goals. So that is where these values that Krishna is elaborating on, completes in the 19th verse. So from 13th to the 19th, very loaded, very powerful. So 20th verse, he concludes this particular chapter. He says this law of life, the dharma, he refers to all of these as dharma, law of being. That's what dharma means, right? A law of being or law of life. They have to be done, right? Etu dharmyam mritamidam yatoktam paryupasate. It has to be done with faith, with shraddha. Shraddha of what? A goal of having the goal to attain him. These devotees are very dear to me. Yata bhaktaste tiva me priyaha. So then these people are very dear to me. So here we have to understand one thing, that he has said all of these, maybe 30 odd different qualities have been elaborated here. Some of them may have similar essence, but nevertheless, right, it was said in different ways so that we. So is it that we have to get all these tick marks and all these qualities to live a high quality life? Almost every sage, almost every guru says the same thing. You just take one quality out of this, just one. And can you uncompromisingly, follow that? Do your 100% to it, do it fully. All the others will automatically happen. Because in all of these, there is, at the back of it, at the root cause of it is just one or two things. It is your impressions. It is your belief system. It is my conceptions of certain things. It's my lack of awareness. It's only two or three root causes that drive all these things that we do in the outside world. So if we were to address one of them, even fully from the out as a core value, it will actually address the rest of them automatically. They're all interconnected. They are not necessarily, different spheres that are unachievable. They're all interconnected. And Krishna also says, when you are at this stage, you become, you're a new being, you're a reborn, you're a new person, a new personality. We say the closing verse for this chapter. Om Tatsadiति Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu Brahma Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Nama Dvadashodhyayah. You can also chant, all of us.
Om Tat
Saditi
Saditi Srimad Bhagavad Gita Upanishatsu
Brahma
Brahma
Vidyayam
Vidyayam Yoga Shastre Sri Krishna Arjuna Samvade Bhakti Yogo Namaha Dvadashodhyayah.
So we just did only 5 verses today, or 6 verses, and the other day only 4 verses. But it's fairly loaded. Simple messages, yet depth of it is loaded. Any thoughts?
Sir, but see, it's just I feel many a times any practice or whatever, as Krishna told, the to achieve some goal, we have to constantly and consistently put efforts. In between,
Yep.
I mean, as I observed, we alone can't do anything, sir. other than spiritual practice, or even you take spiritual practice also, to do a spiritual practice, we need somebody's help. Maybe electricity, or maybe whatever, in some way. If we can't sit without fan, or we can't sit without AC, like that we are dependent on, to sit here, somebody comes in between, something is happening, somebody has to go and open the door. Like this, so many things will come. Similarly, even in our relationships also, the relationship, from where we start with, and in between we come across so many people. And of course, we will be loyal to the first person, or the God, or everything, towards our goal. But these people all comes, we all know that this is all part of karma or runa. Karma or runa, anyway, it will happen. While doing that, we have many of the times, though we think that we have a choice, but we will not have choice, but accepting that, isn't it? And
Yeah, yeah.
while doing that, the Krishna, he himself says, you should not think about papa, punya, etc., etc., all these things, how you need to be dedicated. And why we must get this karma and this one, sir?
That is part of our growth, right? See, if our life has to be fun, Jairam sir, no? Then, it's not fun if if every day, nice things only happen, then there's no fun. When something happens that,
No,
it
that
puts a challenge, we like it.
stability.
So,
See, Krishna, Narayana, he made everything. And those three are very fine. Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Of course, Brahma is relaxing now. He has done whatever he has to do, and he is resting. He has put us in a deep trouble.
yeah, but trouble also and fun also, right? See,
Yeah.
we go through a challenge and we come out of it, we feel so nice, isn't it? So that also, right? You've been through so many impediments, and those impediments are there for a reason. And when you come out of it, you feel so accomplished, feel so good. So I think we need to go through this. There is that's the reason it's called opposites, right? You see, most of these values were given as opposites. It was done deliberately. He didn't say, just only this, be only happy. He said, be able to handle both happiness and sadness. It's different when you
And
say this, right? Be only happy. It's not possible. So instead of that, he said, be happy no matter when you go through this, both of these.
I have
So,
given this question to my students in Ved Pathshala. There is a Veda Sadas which will happen on 31st and 1st of August. 31st of July and 1st of August. I given this question. Let me see what way.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Good, good, good. You're asking them that. Mm.
Because they all done 12 years of Veda Adhyayana, and 1 year of their practicals in a couple of places. They should also come out with some sort of solution for us.
They are actually very mature. That's why I see some of these children. Their level of understanding will beat you. But anyway, you go through that, you'll find out.
Oh, but
Well,
I'll tell you, the Veda Pathshala, the students, the Veda students, either they become very quiet, they become very kind of no reaction at all. They become like that, or they become active. I don't know why. This is what I have seen from past 20 years of being with them. They'll be either extreme or opposite to that.
okay,
People who leave us
good,
at
good.
fourth year, third year only will be like us.
uh, yeah.
Anyhow, good sir. This takes us
Oh, like
our thoughts
Shalini.
to many places.
Yeah, correct, correct. Kumbeshwaran, Shalini, Jasada.
We can keep on going for 2 hours because there are so much to actually even think and observe. But two main things though there are many two main things that when there is no duality and when there is no opposites, when I'm able to stay neutral, There is nothing called sadness then. I won't even think that I'm sad, or I won't even think that I'm this thing or anything. So that state that we should be able to get. But this thing was very good, on during the praise or insult or anything that, yeah, I will get the feedback from him, and that is very thought provoking, and there is a higher source from which I get. But that other one, right? That mainly on the how we honor and dishonor, particularly that point. Uh, what kept coming in my mind, for example, even 2 3 days before, I was seeing one article that in you go to any developed countries, these plumbers and electricians are making more than the bankers and the software engineers, and that is true actually. That each of the job, what is actually seen, when some kid come and say that, I want to be an electrician. How are we going to see here? And I still remember when I was there, in one of my colleagues, he said he was working. It was in one of the investment banks that I was working for, I was a vendor. Then he told, I don't want to do project management. I want to only code, but I hate this job. They made me a project manager here and all that. Then I said, sir, you should join any Indian company. Why are you working in the bank or something? Then he said, no, I got an offer from Wipro. Then, sir, yeah, it is Wipro. Okay, but I would rather do plumbing. That's the exact statement he told when in 2007, and that still holds good actually. 2 days before, one guy has published that in Australia, plumbing is a fantastic job where people can make more than bankers. And average even 5 times they go to the electricians. And in the day of AI, these things are not going to go away. If you set up data center, you need electricians, you need plumbers, you need. So how we actually dishonored these roles, how we need dishonored these knowledges, everything was attributed to money, and actually we didn't value them. We valued by what is the price of that particular job. So that was actually coming.
Ubeshwaran, quite a few of my friends, right? They came out of IT and they are doing farming. Not after retirement. I'm saying even before retirement. So there is a belief where I truly enjoy, I don't mind getting my hands dirty to do certain things. As you said, like plumbing, farming, all of that comes with me. Okay, good. Jayasudha, Shalini, anything?
Go ahead, Shalini.
No, I joined late, sir. So I just joined at 10. I couldn't join earlier. But okay, only one thing is uh, anything given, whatever happens to you, you need to know that it is all the design of God, and of course, uh, what you have accumulated over your janmas, right? I think that thought, when you have that thought, when something, when good or bad happens, I think will keep you balanced. And this particular chapter is completely about that, right? You don't think about the results. You completely devote in what you have, what you're doing, and then as you were saying that what you have to do, you do. There is some. I mean, you will have to consider the divine as your insurance, right? Insurance. That part it really resonated. Olden days, where was the insurance, right? But people just lived at that point of time also. And anyway, this, I think, one of the key takeaway is devotion. So this one of the series I was seeing on Modi coming up in life, right? How a tea seller becomes a PM. There is a series going on in Amazon Prime, at least season 1. In that, as a child, somebody asks Modi, "How are you?" All of us are there in the same conversation, right? And but you seem to be picking more things, and you seem to be remembering it better. So then he just says, when somebody is telling me something, I'm just listening. I just listen to it completely. Maybe you're not doing that way, because when you're listening, you're thinking of so many other things. You have so many biases. You have so many this things. So you're thinking based on whatever assumptions, whatever biases you have, right? But as he says, when you're listening only for listening, that means complete devotion to listening, then you may see more things than what it is. So I think this chapter basically says your devotion to whatever you do, it should be in that fashion, right? Don't
Thank you.
allow your mind to this thing. That's what. Uh, it's a very good. I like that series, sir. It's a little serious series, but it is the how the child a child is able to relate to so many deep thoughts, and then and he does that entire North India, I mean Haridwar and all that stuff, goes to Bengal. Finally he'll be sent back to Gujarat by the Guru. So it's like and there is nothing on his face, and the words that he says whatever words, I mean the way they have put the series, I'm hoping it is the same thing. The It's not about how much you speak or how much you this thing. It's about what and how well you're able to convey. All this will come only if you're completely devoted to what you're doing or what you're listening, doing, acting, whatever it is. So I think more devotion a person has, I think he will be able to see more results. Of course, he will not be bothered about the results as well. Okay, that's what uh,
Okay.
I would.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Any concluding stuff, Jayasudha? Any other thoughts?
Yes, sir. I mean, as Shalini and you were alluding to, all this 36, actually, I want to make it as a table and then bucket it. And then that root, where is it actually coming from, right? What if we follow, all this will fall in place automatically. That is what I was actually thinking. Logically, I'll have to see how to bucket
Put
it.
that, please
Jayasudha,
put
your
that in there, ma'am. We all will use actually.
Jayasudha,
Please put
your
that and
homework for
share, and
next
we will
class.
all use it. Checkpoint.
Jayasudha, can you take that? You become the instrument for doing this. Okay. So maybe you can put this little
Mostly
table
know everywhere.
next class.
Mostly know everywhere. That's why I didn't put.
Maybe just so that if it's possible, next class when we conclude this, we'll not keep a whole class with this. Maybe we can just keep these in a little table. Maybe however you want to put it across, doesn't matter. We can discuss with the table in mind.
Yeah.
And but maybe you can put. Huh?
I will try, sir.
Just keep the table, and we will just at least discuss it how we think it relates to.
Yeah.
Right? What is the bottom line cost?
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
Okay,
that's
sir.
what we will do. We will chant it once, and then after that we'll go through the table, and that's how we'll. Okay? All right. Take care then. We'll all see you next class. I forgot to close the thing. Om Purnamada Purnamidam